Yo, what's up, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from tonight. There were 7 of them. They went all the way from like 5 p.m. Eastern to right about the time I'm recording this video, which is pretty late. So it's been a long night of basketball, so let's go ahead and get into it right away. The team that I do want to hit on first, and it's a team that I've kind of neglected to talk about up to this point, and that's not been fair to them with how good they've been, is the Washington Wizards, winning by 12 over the Orlando Magic, which isn't a big win by any stretch of the imagination. The Magic aren't a very good team, but just the way the Wizards have been playing now after this game, they're 9-3 on the season, which is the best record in the Eastern Conference up to this point. This Wizards team looks legit. I know it's still very, very early in the season. I'm not saying they're going to get the 1 seed or anything, but this is a really, really solid team. Over the course of the offseason, they kind of made this decision to go with depth over star power when they dealt Russell Westbrook to the Los Angeles Lakers for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, and Montrezl Harrell. 3 guys that have played phenomenally in their roles for this team. Montrezl Harrell looks like his 6th man of the year self. Kyle Kuzma has always been a solid defender, and now he's being a solid offensive player as well. Grabbing a lot of rebounds too, had a double-double tonight with 17 and 10. He's always been underrated, being on the Lakers and having a lot of those just kind of shacked in a fool type plays that he has, especially when they get shown on the national stage in Lakers games. He's always been kind of underrated, so he was a good pickup. KCP is a solid player, and combine that with bringing in a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie alongside Bradley Beal, who has always been a star in this league, you've got a pretty solid team. You've got other guys like Denny Avdija, Raul Neto, Corey Kispert, Aaron Holiday, guys who have played solid minutes for them. They haven't even had Rui Hachimura yet this season, who has missed all of this year with some personal problems. Hopefully he's able to come back soon. I believe they said he should be coming back soon. He had a great Olympics, and he had a fun end to the season last year, so he's a guy that I'm pretty optimistic can come in and really help this team as well. They're just rolling. They didn't even have Bradley Beal tonight. And Beal, over the course of the year, hasn't even been that good. He's averaging 22 points per game, which is fine. But for a guy who usually averages around 30, it's not great. And yet the Wizards continue to win. This is a team that reminds me, and pretty much anytime you have a team that kind of just relies on depth to get most of their wins, you're going to hear this team brought up. But they remind me a lot of the Atlanta Hawks from 2014-15. That team won by team basketball every night. And while they had the first seed in the Eastern Conference, they didn't stand a chance in the Eastern Conference Finals against LeBron James because you need a superstar to win in this league. And I do think that still is the case. I don't really see this Wizards team right now as a contending team, but they're a good one. And the way that they've started off this season is really impressive. Wes Unseld Jr. has done a phenomenal job coaching this team. He really has everyone playing in roles that they need to succeed. That was my biggest complaint of Scott Brooks last season, watching Wizards games, watching a lot of them because, of course, they had Russell Westbrook, my favorite player of all time. Well, and by the way, some people are trying to use like the Wizards' success as it means to hate on Russell Westbrook. Yes, he's gone now, but also this team is much deeper. And if you watched that team last year, Scott Brooks was a problem. Wes Unseld Jr. has fixed some of those problems. And the only reason why they made the playoffs at the end of the year was Russell Westbrook. So if you're going to hate on Westbrook, make sure to acknowledge those things. But really, probably the biggest difference in addition to the depth is just the way that Wes Unseld Jr. has continued to put guys in places to succeed. Everyone is playing a role that really fits them very well, and I feel like a lot of times Scott Brooks kind of just said, okay, Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook, kind of go do your thing, and everyone else just stand and be catch and shoot guys. That's not the way a lot of that roster was built to play. For example, a guy like Rui Hachimura really showed what he was capable of in the Olympics when he was able to handle the ball, kind of play a little bit more on ball than a lot of the off ball opportunities that Scott Brooks kind of gave him. He's a guy that I think will fit really well in this Wes Unseld Jr. team. Montrezl Harrell, who I think the Lakers used pretty poorly last year, he's having a phenomenal bounce back year because they're using him the way he was more used for the Clippers. He's playing short stints. He's going out there being a high energy guy. I just don't think that Lakers roster is a great fit for him in general. And now he's kind of revived in Washington. I like the way that Denny Avdija is playing a little bit more. He's less so of like a catch and shoot type guy. The Wizards are just good. And I'm not saying they're a contender. I'm not saying that they're going to win the East or anything. But so far, they've been the best team in the East. And that's a huge credit to them because the East is phenomenal. There are so many good teams in the East. And I know a lot of them have been beaten up. Like, for example, the Sixers, missing like 1 million people due to COVID every game, it feels like. The Milwaukee Bucks, missing Chris Middleton a lot of games. I'm missing Drew Holiday some games. Those teams are going to bounce back. The Nets are finally catching up a little bit after James Harden had a rough start to the season. This Wizards team might not be the 1 seed for super long, but what they've done so far is super impressive, and I should have given more credit to them sooner. They have surprised me. They're not a team, to be honest, I didn't pick them to make the playoffs. I thought that star power would have been more important. I didn't expect all these pieces to click quite the way that they have, especially, like I said, with Bradley Beal struggling so far. It's really impressive to see what they're doing, and the way that they're winning through team basketball, it's just fun to watch. They're a really fun team. They keep getting big wins. They've got a couple big wins on the year. They're a really clutch team as well. It feels like every time they play a close game, they end up closing it out, and that's a big thing that good teams do, is they close out games. We've seen a lot of teams so far this year that just can't seem to close out games, and the Wizards are not one of them, at least not from what I've seen. So shout out to the Washington Wizards. Once again, like I said, playing really good basketball right now, team basketball, and they're on top of the East. Next, I want to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. I've talked about them before because I've talked a lot about Evan Mobley. As y'all might know at this point, he was my favorite prospect coming into the draft. I thought he was a generational type guy, AD type, and he continues to be that guy. Over the last 5 games, Evan Mobley's averaging around 20 points per game and around 7 rebounds, while playing some of the best defense we've seen from a rookie in like the last decade. The only rookie I can think of playing this good defense is Anthony Davis, maybe. He's that good. It's been like 9-10 years since we've seen a rookie be this good defensively, and the Cavs right now are 9-5. And I think I'm ready to say that the Cavs just aren't like good to start the season. They're just a good team, like period. The way that they've been playing, the way that they've been winning, it feels sustainable. And before the year, I really didn't see Cleveland making the playoffs. I thought there were too many good teams. Evan Mobley, I've always been high on him, but I wasn't sure how great his rookie season was going to go. Of course, questions with like Colin Sexton's contract, just kind of some depth questions, and they've shut all that up very fast. Jared Allen, only 11-8, but he's been phenomenal over the course of this year. 40 minutes for Evan Mobley, who had 19-9, like I mentioned. Darius Garland with 22-6. They haven't had Colin Sexton. They might not have him for a while now with an injury, and they're still continuing to win games. 16 for Ricky Rubio, 9 for Cedi Osman, who did get dropped by Tatum at the end of this game that they won by 2, but, they ended up winning the game, so it happens. This Cavs team's just nice. And Evan Mobley feels like he might have a shot at an all-star appearance. I think they would probably give it to Jared Allen if this Cavaliers team does make it to the all-star break, still up here towards the top of the conference. I think Jared Allen might get that nod. But Evan Mobley right now looks like he's deserving of that all-star nod. And it's been a long time since we've seen a rookie get an all-star appearance, but he's been that impactful so far. He's been that good. And if the Cavs are towards the top of the conference, I don't see any reason why he can't get that nod. I just want to give a shout out to the Cavs because I'm pretty sure before the season in a hot takes video, someone said the Cavs would make the playoffs, and I said, hell no. And they're making me look like an idiot. So I have to apologize to the Cavs. They've been really good, and I've been super impressed. I'm super happy to see Evan Mobley succeeding. Like I said, he was a guy that I loved coming into the draft. I think he's a generational type player because his generational level of defense matched with the offense that we've seen from him so far. It's incredible. Next, moving on to the Boston Celtics side of this game, Jason Tatum continues to just be disappointing on the season, like a lot of players have been. Dennis Schroeder had really good back-to-back games. The last game dropping 38, 28 tonight. Robert Williams 12 and 16. No Jaylen Brown, just not enough scoring. Only scoring 89 points. Tatum's got to be better. People have been saying this. A lot of players have really struggled to start this season, and Tatum is absolutely one of those guys. Next, the Miami-Utah game. On the Miami side of the ball, just a lot of big performances from guys. Missing Jimmy Butler, but Kyle Lowry comes out, drops 21, 27 from Tyler Hero, 13, 7 and 7 from Bam, 13 and 11 from PJ Tucker, who had like 5 offensive rebounds in the first half, 22 from Duncan Robinson in a big bounce back performance. He's a guy who's really struggled so far this year. On the Jazz side of the ball, 26 from Bojan Bogdanovic, 14 from Gobert, and 22 from Donovan Mitchell, 25 from Jordan Clarkson. It was just only 4 from Joe Ingles, 6 from Mike Conley. They just couldn't keep up with the offense of the Miami Heat tonight. And of course, playing good defense down the stretch, as the Heat have typically done. It's a big win for Miami without Jimmy Butler beating the Jazz, who are a very good team. But this is one that the Jazz should have won. This is probably one they want back. And once again, the NBA continues to be weird because it feels like any team can beat anyone on any given night. Next, with the Memphis Grizzlies losing to the 2-12 New Orleans Pelicans. not good. The New Orleans Pelicans, without Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, have been really bad. Brandon Ingram did make his return. He had 19 points, 15 for Jonas Valanciunas, who's played like an all-star up to this point in the season, 15 for Devontae Graham, 21 from Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who continues to be phenomenal. On the Grizzlies side of the ball, 23 from Dylan Brooks, 22, 9, and 10 from John Morant, 14 from Desmond Bane, 13 from Kyle Anderson. They just can't play defense. They just can't seem to stop anyone. They've been awful defensively. They were down by 20 for like multiple portions of this game, or right around 20 points. Only 4 from Jaren Jackson Jr., who a lot of people, me included, thought could be a most improved player guy, and he just hasn't lived up to that. He got a big contract in the offseason, and he hasn't lived up to it at all. He's got to be better if this Grizzlies team wants to reach their ceiling, and if he doesn't, that contract's going to get really bad really quickly. I think he's going to be fine. I think he'll figure it out, but this is a horrible loss for the Grizzlies. Timberwolves, once again, I made that video the other day talking about how they tricked me. Then they went out and beat the Lakers by 30 and then lost by 27 to the Clippers. So I just don't understand the Minnesota Timberwolves at this point. The Clippers have now won 7 straight games. My dream of having 2 lottery picks is completely dead because I thought, maybe the Clippers missed the playoffs without Kawhi, but there's no way they don't feel like they should be this good. But they're playing phenomenal team basketball. Paul George has been an MVP candidate. He had 23, 9, and 4 in only 27 minutes. Eric Bledsoe has been really solid recently. Terrence Mann. This is just another really deep team. And with Paul George playing like a superstar level player right now, they're really hard to beat on any given night. On the Timberwolves side of the ball, 21 from Anthony Edwards, only 8 from Cat. 15 from Jaden McDaniels, only 8 from Malik Beasley, who's been meh on the season. And now they fall to 4-8 on the year after starting out really hot. And it feels like their play-in chances are kind of dwindling away. It's very early in the season, but the Timberwolves they don't feel consistent enough. Like every game, it feels like they could win by 30 or lose by 50. And if you're not going to get any consistency, you're probably not a team that's going to make the playoffs. Philly and Indiana, Domantas Sabonis 18, 12, and 5 in a 5-point win, 13, 10, and 10 from Malcolm Brogdon, 20 from Miles Turner, 27 from Justin Holiday, who kind of went crazy. The Sixers, like I mentioned, are ravaged by COVID. No Joel Embiid in this game. They did have Tobias Harris, who had 32 and 11. 11 and 16 from Andre Drummond, 14 from Danny Green, 24 from Tyrese Maxey, who continues to play massive minutes. He played 43 tonight. He dropped over 30 points last game. The Sixers are just skidding. They were 8-2, and now they've lost 4 straight. They need Joel Embiid back desperately. No Furkan Korkmaz did play in this game. No Matisse Thybulle in this one is what I meant to say. They're just missing guys. They need all their guys back, and when they do, I think they're going to be really good. But without COVID, or with the COVID issues, they are really skidding right now. And the Pacers have quietly kind of risen up the rankings. 6-8 now, right there in kind of the play-in picture at the moment. And they're kind of starting to show a little bit of what I thought they could be before the season. And finally, the Detroit Pistons getting a win over the Toronto Raptors, 127-121. Cade Cunningham with 10, 3, and 4, including a tough bucket at the end of the game to kind of seal it. 13, 10, and 7 from Killian Hayes, who had a near triple-double in one of his best games of the year. 20 from Isaiah Stewart, 24 from Jeremy Grant, in a big win over a really tough Raptors team. Pascal Siakam has been really solid since coming back. I like that they're playing him at the center. I think, especially against a team like the Pistons, who have Isaiah Stewart, who's a little bit undersized at the center position, I think that's a good way to go to fit OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, and Pascal Siakam all into the starting lineup. He had 25, 12, and 7, 11, 6, and 4 from Scotty, 17 from OG Anunoby, 23 from Gary Trent Jr. They just really couldn't seem to get stops, which is weird because that's what this Raptors team has been good at, but the Pistons kind of just gave them buckets tonight. Got a win. They're now 3-9 on the season, with the Raptors going to 7-7. The Raptors are a team that I could definitely see making the playoffs. They're right there on that verge. The Pistons, they're getting wins now. I think this is 2 in a row for a Pistons team that started the season really, really poorly. It is not 2 in a row. I was tripping. It's the last 2 out of 3 though. So, improvement for the Pistons. So those are my thoughts on the games. Let me know what your takeaways were. I appreciate y'all watching. I will see y'all later. Real one, sit back.